Hello and welcome to Mystery Monday number 23, where we cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support an analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as making inferences that we can draw from the text, including where the text leaves matters uncertain. At the end of the story, you'll be asked to rate yourself on your ability to complete this learning goal based on the following scale of 4, meaning that you can draw inferences from the text, use the evidence that the author uses, or point to the evidence the author uses to prove his or her point, and to where the text leaves matters uncertain. You're also picking up on nuance like sarcasm and irony. A 3 means that you can draw inferences from the text, point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point, and you're able to identify where the text leaves matters uncertain. A 2 means that you can draw inferences from the text and point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point, but you're not really able to identify where the text leaves matters uncertain. And a 1 means that you are unsure of how to draw inferences from the text. Being at a 1 is okay. This simply means that we need to work on it. If you're there, let me know. It's something that we can improve on. This is Mystery Monday number 23, titled More Than One St. Plouffe? This is ludicrous. You've got a written confession, written and signed confession, but you've also got 2 different suspects claiming it's theirs. Yep, 2 different suspects with exactly the same name? Alfred Lewis St. Plouffe, Jr. Yep. And they're father and son? That's right, father and son. Strawn Ritchie looked up from the confession. Careful, Kamsack, you almost spoke a whole sentence. Ephraim Kamsack raised both eyes in the general direction of his boss and took a deep breath. Yep, he said again. Strawn waited a second or two just in case there might be more, but he knew from experience that it was more expedient just to forge ahead. Now, just to add to this astounding clarity we all enjoy in this case, it seems that there are actually 3 living Alfred Lewis St. Plouffes, he continued. Senior, the original, then his son, Junior, then Junior's son, Alfred Lewis St. Plouffe III. Kamsack leaned forward again, and with his right index finger tapped the report lying in front of Strawn. Yep, he said for the 4th time, and then folded back into a slouch. Except that the third has always called himself Junior also. So in effect there are 2 juniors. So the confession I'm reading here, signed Alfred Lewis St. Plouffe Jr., is claimed by both the juniors. The toothpick in Kamsack's mouth elevated ever so slightly. Strawn took that as a, yep, the 5th. Well, thank you, Detective Kamsack, he said. I couldn't have laid it out more clearly myself. Kamsack took a while before responding with a grunt, but Strawn, by then, had turned to the source of their mutual interest. The confession was typed on plain white bond paper and signed in a clear, unelaborate script, one that would be simple to forge. The information itself was but 3 short paragraphs. On the 1st of May last, I administered poison in the form of arsenate of lead to Her Ladyship Teresa Alana Gurgu, formerly the Countess Kovazna of Romania. Her Ladyship attended Mass at St. Sophia's on the 1st of May, as has been her uninterrupted custom on each of Romania's national holidays since the abdication of King Michael in 1947. During her absence, I added the aforementioned substance to the medicine she consumed 3 times a day. The effects of the substance, along with all other pertinent details relating to her demise, are known to the police, and I do not dispute their findings or conclusions. I hereby stipulate that what I have written is offered of my own free will and without coercion. Signed, Alfred Lewis St. Plouffe, Jr. You know, Kamsack, Strawn began, but then stopped abruptly. Kamsack was shifting the toothpick from one side to the other, a sure sign that he was about to volunteer something. Got 'em both here for you, the detective said very softly. Think you'll want to talk to 'em. Want 'em spinning you about the confession. He slowly undulated to his feet. Here, he tossed a sheet of paper on Strawn's desk. Ask him both these 3 questions. Before Strawn could react to the longest discourse from Kamsack he could recall in some time, he found himself facing the elder St. Plouffe Jr., and after a few preliminary probes of his own, to which the suspect was entirely forthcoming, asked the first of Kamsack's 3 questions. What intrigues us, Monsieur St. Plouffe, is your motive. According to our findings, Lady Gurgu had very little money. Alfred Lewis cleared his throat. Your findings are correct. She had very little money indeed. She was nearly destitute, excepting for some ornate jewelry, which I'm convinced she purloined from the royal treasury in 1947. Strawn nodded, using the movement to glance surreptitiously at the second question. But then, why? He asked. She was just a harmless old lady. Not harmless when she was younger. Previous to King Michael's abdication, she fabricated a web of intrigue that effectively dissolved our family's fortune. In fact, my family as well. It killed my mother. I can give you the details if— Not just yet, Strawn interrupted. Before we get any further, I have to ask you if you are fully aware of the possible consequences of your confession. We have the death penalty in this jurisdiction, you know. Yes, I know. But I am not adverse to the idea of death. Not now, not not now that I have satisfied the family's honor. And incidentally, St. Plouffe moved to the edge of his chair, I'm also fully aware that you have to decide between my son and myself as to who is guilty. He foolishly advanced the premise to one of your investigators that it was he who poisoned the Countess. A noble act, but one you should ignore. I did it. The confession is mine. Strawn avoided eye contact with Kamsack while ushering the elder St. Plouffe Jr. out of his office and the younger one in. The father and son were remarkably similar in appearance and behavior. In manner of speech, too, for it is the first of Kamsack's 3 questions, the one about Lady Gugu's financial state, the younger St. Plouffe replied, Indeed, unless I have been misled. A distinct possibility, by the way. She was remarkably devious. The Countess Kovasana was. She was, how shall I put it, impunctuous? But then, Monsieur St. Plouffe, it's only natural that I ask you why. By now, Strawn had allowed himself to become fascinated with the whole process. What did you have to gain from poisoning an old lady? St. Plouffe's lips curled, but didn't quite lift into a smile. Because of that old lady's activities when I was a young child, my health— He stopped abruptly. Look, this is superfluous to the matter at hand. I poisoned her, and I am fully cognizant of the potential consequences. Those are the only points about which you need to concern yourself. As to my father's attempt to divert you from the truth by claiming authorship of my confession, I can only say that while his gesture is a noble one, it is futile. So notice here, they both took ownership of the crime. They both, at this point, separately with the investigators, have confessed to the crime. Strawn stole a quick glance at Kamsack, who was basking in a huge grin. The grin continued long after both St. Plouffes were deposited in the outer office, and it stretched to the limit when Strawn said, My hat's off to you, Ephraim. Pretty clever. We've got a lot more digging to do on this confession, that's for sure. But at least we know who wrote the confession. Which Alfred Louis St. Plouffe has written the confession? I hope, for your sake, students, that you're able to find the clues that I've given you in the work that you have to do during this Mystery Monday. Because I've dropped a few clues as well. And here is your solution. Alfred Louis St. Plouffe Jr. fails. The confession is written in grammatically impeccable prose. The same quality applies to the speech of the younger St. Plouffe Jr. The speech of the elder St. Plouffe Jr., however, while grammatically elegant for the most part, has some awkward errors suggesting he does not quite have the same grammatical exactitude necessary to write the confession in the way it was offered. The elder St. Plouffe says adverse when averse is the correct choice. Previous instead of prior. Further, he says in between my son and myself, a very popular vulgarism instead of between my son and me. The use of accepting over accept is another grammatical sin. So back at our scale here, based on what you know and how convinced you are that you are able to draw conclusions based on evidence, thus making inferences, where would you rate yourself? A 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1? And with that, ciao for now.